to the Evangelism Podcast. I'm Daniel King, and I'm excited about telling people about Jesus. Today I have a very special guest, Alpha Hayward. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Hey, thank you, Daniel. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Now, you are doing days in the park, and so you have put together a manual that helps people that want to do an evangelistic activity in a park. Tell me, how did you get started doing that?
Yeah, so years ago, I'd say back in 2006, when I was still a youth pastor, the Lord gave me a vision at a park with doing music and providing food and games for children, and also doing a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. And so that's where it got birthed, and just ever since then, each year, we just kept doing it. We just kept doing an annual park event based off of the scripture out of Luke chapter 14, where Jesus talks about the parable of the great banquet.
So you had a vision of this great banquet,
Yeah.
and you decided to start reaching out in the park. Tell me, what does one of these park outreaches look like?
So it basically looks like a party at the park, like a festival, or even you could say, like, it looks like a really huge birthday party. You know, it's a barbecue, it's music. The difference is that it's like live music, different artists coming out. There's people who are speakers that come out. There's professional athletes that come out. And when we started this, it was pretty basic. You know, it was just using resources from the relationships we had of people who were willing to come for free, so that we could do it on a budget of $500. And so that's how we started.
So share with me some of the testimonies of what God has done through these outreaches.
So it started with me talking with my church. So I was a youth pastor, and the only real evangelism type ministry that was happening in our church was happening through our ministry, because my wife and I have been evangelistic ever since we were involved in ministry. So what we thought was we would talk to a couple folks that we knew around the neighborhood that had, like one guy had a skateboard shop. So we asked him, hey, sorry we haven't met before, but I see you have a skateboard shop. It was called Skate Legion with Greg Maxwell Muir. And I said, hey, Greg, would you like to help us reach some teenagers by coming over and setting up some ramps? And you can promote your business if you want to, but there's teenagers that like skateboarding, so would you like to come join us and help us with this once in a while? Maybe like whenever you're available. And he said, that sounds like a good idea. I think I would want to do that. And so that's kind of what got the ball rolling. That's what kind of got things started. And then I came outside one day, and I just had this vision, and I called a friend. I said, hey, I think God just gave me this vision of doing like a concert outreach event at this park with food and stuff. And so I just started sharing it with people that I know. So with Greg Maxwell Muir, with some pastors at my church, with some friends that I knew. And then that's how I started making connections, because I met Tim Byrne through Greg Maxwell Muir. Through one of my friends, I heard about the Louise Plow Association. And so I just started, wherever there was an opportunity to meet someone, I just took it. And I just started talking with people and just started sharing with people with no agenda of like, I got to get money. My focus wasn't on getting money. My focus was on, Lord, put me in touch with people that would like to do something like this. And through the years of building relationship, the ministry of Day in the Park grew because of the relationships, not because of the money. The money came as the ministry grew. So completely different mindset or even model of doing outreach. And what's different is this is like neighborhood outreach. So the focus isn't a huge citywide event. It's focused on a specific neighborhood. So instead of maybe thinking 20, 50, or 100,000 people, you're thinking maybe 1,000 people, 500 people, maybe even 5,000 people. So.
Now, if someone drives past a park, they see your event going on, what are they going to see? What's going to attract them to stop and say, hey, I want to see what's happening?
Right. So, of course, we do our mailers, we do some door-to-door, we do some talking to some business owners and stuff, and what we do is we put up the flyers, the posters, and it says the day in the park. It doesn't advertise any specific person. There's not even an image of a person's face on it or anything. It just says the day in the park, and then underneath it, it says something like community event or family-friendly event, something like that, so that the neighborhood knows, hey, this is something that perhaps me and my kids can check out. And so they'll also see things on there like games and prizes or cotton candy, snow cones, or they'll see stuff like that all over the banner and poster.
And so not only are you doing Day in the Park, but you're also pastoring a church.
Right.
And you are bivocational because you also have a business that you run. Right. So how do you juggle all these different balls?
It's difficult at times, but one thing that helps me for sure is that my wife is side by side with me through all this. Another thing is my business is at the stage where I have a good manager that's able to run the business when I'm not there. And at the church, there are several elders and leaders that do a great job at taking their role and serving and doing what they're supposed to do. So it gives me the freedom to be able to move around a little more and to be able to kind of put on the different hats at the different seasons. So when it's time to get ready for Day in the Park, I can put on that hat. When it's time to be Pastor Alpha, I can put on that hat. And when it's time to run Alpha's Auto Detail, I can also put on that hat.
Do you think that there's different skills that are needed for each of these different areas?
Well, certainly there are some skills, right? Because auto detailing, you've got to know how to run a buffer and shampoo carpets correctly. But for the most part, what it takes is having absolute faith in the Lord, having a good work ethic, and having vision, and being willing to be the kind of person who can train up some other leaders and then release them to do things so that you don't feel like you have to be 100% here and 100% there and 100% there, so that you can kind of spread it out.
Let's talk about your church. I have a lot of pastors that listen to the Evangelism Podcast, and they're looking for ways to get their church involved in reaching out to the community. How do you create an atmosphere of evangelism within a local church?
Pastors that want to see more evangelists in their church have to lead as an evangelist. Your approach to ministry needs to shift to being very missional. So you have to be thinking more like a missionary than you are an American church planter. And your agenda and focus becomes different. You're not focused so much on getting people in the seats. You're more focused on reaching the lost and then having them have a love for Jesus to where they want to be discipled. So you just do a little bit of focus and shifting of how you think, and just make sure that your heart's in the right place, which is being very kingdom and being very mission based.
Now, I know that you put together a manual for how to have a day in the park.
Yes.
And so people who want to take this idea and run with it, maybe do it in their neighborhood or their community. And I understand that the manual is on the website of the Global Network of Evangelists. And so I'll put a link to it so people can download the manual. But kind of just give us a breakdown, what's in that manual and what secrets does it share for doing one of these outreaches?
Sure. So what the manual will do is the manual will give you at the very least a starting place. And it'll also encourage you so that you would know that you can do outreach and not have money be the hang up. So many times we think, man, I don't have the money for that, or we think that it has to be humongous in order for it to be good, but that's not true. I would just encourage you to peruse it, kind of look at it a little bit, download it because it is free. Take from it what you can use, and then add to it what fits your neighborhood, what fits your church, your community, or your missions trip that you're doing. Take from it and use it the best that you can. You might even find some things that you would be able to modify to make it better. So I would just encourage you to check it out and see it as a good starting place. And just also remember this, that food and music are universal languages. You can go to any country, and if you're going to offer food to bless people and you're going to have some music there, that's going to help you attract some attention. And even if it attracted 10 people, 100 people, whatever, you'll be able to use that opportunity then to be able to share the love of Jesus with anybody who would come for at least some free food and to hear some music.
That's awesome. Well, I so love what you are doing. Day in the Park, Alpha, Hayward. If someone wants to find out more about your ministry and about what you do,
sure.
Do you have a website or a way that people can connect with you?
We do. It is called thedayinthepark.com.
Awesome. Well, if you're listening and you have a heart to do evangelism in your neighborhood, they have some great resources to help you out. Brother Alpha, thank you for being on the Evangelism Podcast.
You bet, brother. Thank you so much. And if anyone needs help, just reach out to me. God bless you.
Daniel King is on a mission to save 1 million souls a year, but he can't do it alone. Would you consider sowing a financial seed today? To give, please visit www.kingministries.com.